Well, you know what it is. It's Friday morning. It's time for another episode of the About Mansfield Consumer Advice Series. Hello, welcome. And today, as we do on every Friday, is we talk about your wealth, your 401k, your nest egg, your retirement, although I don't really like calling it retirement because retirement makes it sound like you're just stopping. And so the next level of your life, let's call it that. Or, you know what? I tell you what, I bet this gentleman probably has a better term for it as well. Let's say hello to Phillip Washington Jr. as we do every Friday.
How's it going?
Say hello to the Mansfieldians.
How's it going, Mansfieldians?
And do you have a better word for retirement?
Freedom, your financial well-being. It's funny you said that because as you said it, I was like, how do I think about it? How would I translate it into a word? I think of it as like your financial well-being, which is like in the now. Because I don't like thinking about things that are so far off because you can't really enjoy that. Like I'm thinking about what's your financial well-being? What's your financial state of mind?
Yeah. Okay. Instead of retirement, it's...
Yeah, which is so far away, right? Because that's
Right.
just, how do you feel better about your wealth now?
Today we're talking about the downsides of comparison, and which we do every Friday. What we do is you come into the studio, you record your podcast, Wealth Building Made Simple, and you can listen to that on any podcast platform. You can also watch the video on LinkedIn. But then we also take that topic and we bring it to the Mansfield public audience right here. And so you really got me thinking when you were doing your podcast about comparing that whether it's comparing my house to your house, my car to your car, or even something and breaking it down as simple as possible, my clothes versus your clothes.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know what? I think I just teed it up and
I think comparison from my perspective puts me, and I feel like most people, in the wrong state of mind. Meaning when you compare, you can only come down to one of two conclusions. You could think that you're better than somebody, or you could think that somebody is better than you, right?
Yeah.
In whatever capacity. Rarely do you compare and find an equal because there's only one you, right? So, so I don't like to compare. I even texted my buddy this morning, there's a difference between competition and evolution, right? So competition is something that that we do, that we learned as like mortal beings, like it's a human concept versus what we would call person to person or spirit to spirit, right? We fall in love with people's spirit, not with their persona. Like
Yeah.
when I say person, I mean like a persona. It's another word might be ego thing, right? Competition is an ego thing. Evolution is just what everybody wants to do, which is expand. And so I feel like, comparison puts you in the mindset of competing versus evolving, which is what we're meant to do.
And you mentioned on your podcast that I think the direct quote was wealth is relative. If you've got $50, you want $500. If you've got $1 million, you think that wealth is $10 million, and $10 million is $100 million, and that and where was I going with this? That wealth is a feeling.
Wealth is a feeling, right? Wealth is a feeling that you own or you don't own. Because if you talk to somebody who is worth $100 million, then their perception of wealthy is different than somebody who's worth $1 million. But my answer is everybody is wealthy. It just depends on like the term you use. Because if you don't own the feeling of wealthy, then you can't expand from that point, right? I mean, like from a simple standpoint of I don't want to say physics or I want to simplify it, but like you can't get from here to here, meaning you can't have what you don't have.
Yeah.
Right? Like, meaning you can't grow what you don't have. If you don't have a rose garden in your garden, then you can't grow roses.
Like the one on your shirt.
Like the one on our shirt. So, I like to think like again, a comparison. Everybody start from the standpoint that you're wealthy, because there is no number. The only other people give number on what is wealthy to them, and if you use their definition, then you're going to be tied to, like, you're going to be a slave to their perspective.
So going back to wealth is relative.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me clarify. Wealth is a feeling. Wealth is not relative.
Okay,
that's
you're right.
yeah.
You're right. That the homeless guy who lives under a bridge next to a river still has waterfront property.
Real, yeah. I mean, really, to be homeless in America, if that person were to talk to somebody who's homeless in a different country, they're gonna say, you're privileged. It's funny. So I recommended this show to you, Steve, called This Fool, right?
Yes.
Don't watch the show. Like, if you're like if you're a judgmental person, don't watch the show. But if you just love comedy and appreciate art of it, it's a really funny and good show with some good themes. But it was one episode where, they are what the world consider a poor family. Like, it's 3 generations, 4 different households living under one roof, just trying to get by. And so this homeless dude comes in the middle of the night and is stealing everybody in the poor neighborhood's cans. And one dude catches him, and he goes, man, I need this. And he's like, well, I need it too. And then so the homeless dude was like, when was the last time you ever you missed your water bill, or you were late paying your water bill? I'm late on my water bill every night. He's like, I would be glad to be late on my water bill because I don't even have a house. But the point was, they got into an argument of who has it worse, and the homeless guy, of course, has it worse. But they're thinking in relative terms, right? Because somebody always has it worse. So, like, it's point, and I said on the last podcast, if thinking from a place of lack is just as bad or has the same net effect on your wealth than thinking from a place of pride. Because if you think from a place of pride, right, where you're the person with $100 million, and you think the mere mortals who don't have $100 million or more, you can't coexist with them, they can't provide you any value, well, then you miss a lot of upside. Because one of the biggest things that my ego revel, because yes, I talk about this stuff, but I have a, I dance with ego every single day. But my ego revels in is when I meet somebody and they underestimate me, and I feel it, and I don't let them know I feel it. And then things will pass, time will go, things will pass, and somebody will tell them, and then they'll realize, oh man, like, I missed the opportunity. I think it's like a verse in Proverbs where it says, don't ever sit at the head of the table, like, wait to be invited. And I revel in, like, being invited to the head, and seeing their face when they go, I underestimated this guy. He took the shit that I gave him, and he let me make it. I really love this dude now.
I'm going to throw you a curveball here. Okay, because we've been talking about wealth and comparing wealth. Someone's either better than you or not as good as you because no one is you. What's the difference between wealthy and successful?
So, good question. So
that's why I'm the host.
So success is going to be, I would call it like hitting the mark, right? So if you say, this is the feeling state that I'm going after, and then you feel it, that's successful. So it can be love. I want to feel love. I feel loved. If I want to feel joy, I feel joy. And then the continued track of success is, once you feel it, then you attract it, and then you get it. But I mean, if you want to start at the first cause, it's achieving the mark. But I know people who feel wealthy who don't feel love, right? I mean, that's a big thing. Like, a lot of people, they've attracted the money by feeling wealthy, but now they're successful in that aspect of their life. but in the aspect of their life where it comes to love or something else, they have not hit the mark yet on that feeling state. And so for me, that's the difference.
And someone who maybe is driving a $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 car, they may feel wealthy, but they're not successful because they haven't reached a mark. They're in fact, they've gone into debt to drive this this show car, but they have to work extra hard to make that work.
Well, maybe or maybe not, right? Because and I'm only giving my perspective. You may be right, but I try not to ever judge a man's intention unless I know it. Meaning, I don't know that person's path, right? Meaning for some people, in order to get the feeling, right? Because I'm assuming somebody who's driving a $80,000 car, even that is going to be, because $80,000 to me is not an expensive car. To a lot of people I know it's not an expensive car, but to somebody who, makes another income, maybe that's an expensive car. So I'm assuming it's from the perspective of somebody who's saying $80,000 is a lot on the car. So the person is maybe what you're saying, they're buying over what they can afford, maybe to capture a feeling.
Yeah.
But from my perspective, if that's the track they need, like if they own the feeling, and then they felt led to express that by buying the car to get to maintain the feeling, I can't judge that because I don't know the end of the story, right?
That's true.
It could be, doing that led them to have the feeling more, which led them to realize they don't need the car to have the feeling always. So, I never really know what their journey is because, I don't even know what my journey is tomorrow.
So, all right. So stop judging, which is your advice to me, and which is great advice. By the way, yeah, $80,000 is a lot of money for a car for me, and in my mind. But
I got my mind on like a Tesla, so my Tesla costs more than that I'm looking to, that I drive in every morning in my imagination.
If someone wanted to reach out to Phillip Washington Jr. and first of all, before we get into that, I love doing these 10-minute nuggets of information. We've actually gone 13 minutes now because it's I find it's my Friday morning exercise of the mind. And
I enjoy it as well.
So if someone wanted to reach out and exercise their mind with Phillip Washington Jr., how can they get a hold of you?
Best way is stonehillwealthmanagement.com. It gives you access to all our company information, the podcast. Check it out, stonehillwealthmanagement.com. Thanks for having me, Steve.
Absolutely. StonehillWealthManagement.com. We do this every Friday live on Facebook. By the way, if you're watching this live on Facebook and you see the green background, you get the director's cut. We take this then into the studio, and by the time it reaches LinkedIn and YouTube, you actually get the full video of the background and whatnot. So the director's cut right here on Facebook. We do this every Friday morning. Phillip, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
All right, you too. Thanks, Steve.